To be named the next executive director of the MHSAA is an incredible honor. The legacy and foundation that Jack Roberts has built here over the last 32 years is the strongest in the country. So just a very humbling opportunity to be able to succeed Jack, to really build from that very strong foundation moving forward as we look for new ways and new ideas to serve the kids in our member schools here in Michigan. The value that athletics bring, not only to our high school students, but to our middle school students, provide ways where kids can learn about life. They can learn from adversity, they can learn from failure, they can learn from challenges. The opportunities that kids get through school sports, you can't find those anywhere else. So many times kids are going to learn things about themselves and how to compete, lessons that may not show up until 4, 5, even 10 years later. But it's those opportunities that kids get to learn lessons through competition are really the reasons why we have athletic programs in our schools. I think some of the big issues facing school sports right now certainly are transfers. That's a topic whenever you get with school administrators, school coaches, even kids and parents seems to be a topic that comes up over and over again. So that certainly is very high on the list of issues right now. With that is certainly continuing to find the right fit, the right balance with our school programs versus non-school programs. Things are much different today than they were 20 years ago. The different opportunities that kids have in the non-school world that start much, much younger. In some respects, there are pressures that our school programs should look more like non-school programs, when I feel strongly in the other way. I think the real value and really the expectations and the core principles of really what's good with athletics are in the high school world, and we need to continue to find ways how to make our product and keep our product the best product out there. I think the goals in the first year are certainly to listen. Having been on staff for 14 years, have been able to build an awful lot of relationships with our leaders all across the state in our member school buildings. But really year one is really going to be to get out there and to listen and to make sure that the MHSAA continues to be membership driven. We want the places where we're going to go next to be driven by our membership. What do school people want us to do? What do school people think is best? And the only way to really get a good read and vibe on where our school administrators want us to go next is to be a great listener. I am a big believer in building consensus and getting support behind new proposals, behind new ideas. And certainly over that first year, it's going to be connecting and in some cases reconnecting with folks in our buildings, at the grassroots, on the ground level, and really getting the temperature of the membership, and then being fully prepared to move full speed ahead. One of the great joys of my life has been able to work so closely with officials all over our state for the last 14 years. I think the relationships that we have built with officials and officials associations and those leaders all over the state has been one of the most positive things that we've done. I think I was always able to bring some credibility to the table working with our high school officials, given the fact that I was an on-field collegiate official those entire times. It was a case of the shoes that they were walking in, I was ending up in those same shoes, especially during the spring and summer. In our time in the 14 years, we've had some great successes. Of course, we hit record numbers during the mid-2000s of the number of registered officials we had. And then certainly there have been some challenges in the last few years, as not just in Michigan, but all over the country. The number of officials is decreasing as the economy has gotten better and some of the sportsmanship issues have become more and more problematic. We're having a harder time recruiting and retaining officials, and now moving from the assistant director's chair to the executive director's chair, that focus on recruiting and retaining officials will continue to be very, very high on the list. And the best way that you keep officials and keep them active and engaged is to make sure that they feel supported. because at the end of the day, officiating is a very difficult job, and the one place where officials have to know they're going to be supported is from this building right here. It's been interesting. I can remember being a high school athlete in the early 90s at Caledonia High School. I was a three-sport athlete, football, basketball, and baseball. And my first contact with Jack Roberts was getting a tournament program and opening up the front cover and seeing the welcome with Jack's picture there. Then moved on to teach and coach for another 4 years after college and became an administrator for another 3. And slowly, over that time of being a teacher and a coach and then an administrator and getting to attend some meetings and getting to hear Jack speak and to reading some of the things that Jack and the staff put out there that really talked about the core values of what high school athletics really are in Michigan. The philosophy of the association and how I saw the high school athletic world were almost a perfect match. That there needs to be expectations for kids, that there needs to be sportsman expectations for coaches and frankly for that matter even for spectators, and it's keeping competition local. It's keeping competition in the right scope or kind of in the right perspective that we're not chasing all over the country to play this team or that team on ESPN, or the pursuit is for high school national championships. It's the foundation and the brand that the MHSAA has always had, really through the leadership of Jack Roberts, is something that I immediately connected with as a young teacher, coach, later an administrator, and then over the past 14 years, walking into this building every day, my belief in those principles has only gotten stronger over that time. I think the role of the MHSAA is really threefold. The first, and where folks know us best from, is certainly running our postseason tournaments. That as we move forward, a bedrock of what we do is to put on great postseason tournaments. So that continues to be kind of the bread and butter of the MHSAA. The second thing really has to be providing fair and equitable rules and regulations. You know, oftentimes the MHSAA can get criticized from one school or even from one family when a student isn't eligible for whatever reason that is. But what a lot of folks tend to forget about is for all the other schools that decision has an impact on, or all the other kids where that has a decision on, to where a lot of times you look at, you know, whether the student should be eligible or not based on the current rules. Well, those rules are there to provide equity and competitive fairness for everybody involved, just not the individual school or student who may be making the appeal or the plea for eligibility. So it's having clear rules, it's having fair rules, and then the membership also has to know that those rules will be consistently and fairly enforced. And then last but not least, probably the area where we've grown the most in the last 14 years are all of the efforts we're doing in the area of student health and safety. Everything from concussion training and education and reporting and providing concussion care insurance. The work that we've done helping school districts have emergency action plans in place, whether it's sudden cardiac situations or other kind of medical emergencies. It's really trying to take the games that we have played for a lot of years and making them as safe as possible for the kids participating in those. So the three things that continue to need to be in our wheelhouse is putting on great tournaments, making sure that we've got the right eligibility rules and having the stomach to enforce those, and finally making sure whatever the activity is that we're doing everything possible we can from a rules-making standpoint or even an officiating standpoint to make sure that we're keeping kids as safe as possible.